care about any of these small like floor price outliers that you see, right? Is that we got a very clear understanding that mini successful launch means fucking nothing, right? Like if that's all we're excited about, like honestly, how many of you guys have participated in a mint in the last, few months that was over point 0.5 ETH in floor? I don't know if there's anything unless you were lucky to get into the cart party madness, I guess, right? Like there's very little that is following into this as well, right? And this is kind of the hardest part is that, right, we fall into the trap because we want to believe our own hype, right? And that's one of the hardest things, right? Is that we do want to believe our own hype. And I think this is like the other challenge is that when we get stuck believing our own hype, we also then get stuck in the same patterns of building and the lack of evolution. And this is where Tribe is trying to be a very large counter to that, or at least understand how we have to position our business to properly counter this as well. And I think that's like the biggest advantage that Tribe does have in the trenches is that we are at least being real. Real is the closest thing I could get to sustainable, right? Is actually how we think about it in our business strategy, right? So what I mean by being real, like we're aware of the realities around Web3. Like we're massively aware of them. We understand the highs, we understand the lows, right? And then more importantly, right, I really want to make sure that the market is actually at a state of stability, and it's not. It really isn't. And this is the hard thing to like talk about is that a lot of people are like, it's funny, and even diamond holders, right? When you see a project like Sugartown go out, people start thinking like, oh, like this means the market's back, right? Like where this is where this is going, right? And yes, like it's really good to see Zynga be above floor price, be at a decent floor price here with their free mint and pretty large supply, and give them credit. And we're seeing volume come in, which is also like a very bullish thing. But like I also want to be very clear. If you told me a Zynga Genesis Pass was going to launch as a free mint and it only was sustaining like a 0.25 ETH floor after a few weeks, right? Like that would be actually really disappointing as well, right? Like really disappointing as well, right? And that's the other harsh reality of this is that it's not that this is a knock on Zynga. It isn't. Like Zynga's doing everything they possibly can to get their excitement and awareness of that project, and they've done a fairly good job. They've released their features, they're doing their reskins of games. There's a staking component, there's going to be some yield component. It's got kind of all the recipes, but damn, it's not going to actually be sustainable if this is like the best the market is willing to offer. That's like incredibly bearish. And this is like the hardest thing for people to look at from a trader versus builder lens. A trader looks at Sugartown and is like, wow, this is awesome. A builder looks at Sugartown and be like, "Oh, fuck, that's the ceiling of this market? Oh shit!" Like, don't get me wrong, it's a slightly larger supply, 6,000 effectively available, but goddamn, like we're talking about 0.25, 0.26, like shit. Like this is like a really brutal market, and now the real question is going to be is and this is gonna be the fun thing because we get to watch it live, and, like, I'm not cheering for their demise by any means. I'm legitimately rooting to see how Zynga navigates the next, like, 3 months. This is, like, the toughest market period, and it's funny because I think Zynga is making the assumption that Web3 like volume might be as strong as Web 2 volume is during the holiday break. I'm actually very, very interested is understanding what is going on because there's two really intriguing things. Is one is like, does their volume sustain over the next 3 months? Because they've gotten great volume. So I'm gonna pay a really close attention to that. And then the second thing is like it's interesting because like they're not getting shit for it, but they did also a custodial staking thing, which I don't think is great. We still don't know what if there's actually any original game. At least from my understanding, it looks like they're just reskinning Zynga old games and bringing them to Web3, which is more bearish than bullish to me. It makes sense on why their speed is, but really hope they have like one original game coming out either this year or hopefully by early next year. So we're gonna see how they connect all these dots. So I'm gonna spend time on this, right? Like we just need to spend time, right, on seeing how this market evolves. But the market is rough, and these gaming guys that we just jumped off that panel, they're in it. They're in for some rough times. Gaming is super hard to pull off. It doesn't even make sense. Gaming only makes sense if you're trying to like get upfront liquidity and extraction, especially if you're doing a token. But traditionally, games have super low retention, even in Web3. And like the only retention you do see where people like hype it up, it's grinders who are trying to extract the last amount of capital that's still available in the ecosystem, right? So it becomes this really, really hard challenge. Is that when you look at it in every single way, right? The honest truth is NFTs are fading, right? NFTs are truly struggling, and NFTs don't have a clear line of sight, right, on the growth. They really don't. They do not know how the market is going to mature around this and scale around this as well. So, we're in this holistic challenge here as an entity, and we're really trying to now figure out, okay, how does Tribe position in it? But it's not only about Tribe, right? Because like Tribe has our own first party assets, but we're legitimately asking this question, right? Is how do we do this for all the other partners we support, right? And we're trying to support a ton of partners, right? We are trying to build with a lot of individuals who have different goals, right? And even though I may be bearish on Web3 gaming in core gaming, being native to Web3, I am bullish on using gaming to build a native Web3 and Web2 audience. Because like with jungle strategy is most of the gaming experience will be primarily directed for a web 2 audience first, right? Which I think is smart on the mobile front. Same thing with TWL. They're going to add gamification into more of their product experiences that are going to build greater like affinity with the brand. Those are smart ways, I think, in regard to gaming. But if we found a partner who's like, hey, we are going to launch a game here in Q4 that's only built for Web3 natives and it has a token, I'll be like, we're gonna pass. Like honestly, I would pass as a village partner. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't mind taking their getting some allocation, distribute you guys. We'll always give you guys access to it. And there's a lot, we have Wallet Wars coming up. I think we were supposed to have Michelin right now, but they wanted to move to next week, so we'll push it over there. They're not gaming though. Michelin is just Michelin. But we do have another game behind this. I think the stages I was in, was it for Shadow Wars? I think we also have Allo for as well. So we are going to continue to give you guys allocation, for all of these elements, but in the end, right, it's going to be a struggle. So Zion says, yeah, but traditionally game is released and the community is formed through the game, but in Web3 communities are built first and then the game is released. Do you think this will change the game a bit? I mean, Zion, I think it should change the game. I just don't think people know how to do that. So, like, if you look at how Tribe is doing it, people should be stealing our ideas all the fucking time. Like the Reaper's product experience, if you've been able to be a part of it, right? Like the idea of letting your community to vote on certain elements of the world design is really important. I don't think enough people do this, and you want to build a new product experience for that. There's not really a lot of that happening, right? One of the other cool things that if you're in the jungle server, they're starting to build is guild relationships right now where you could actually join other Discord members, form teams, and then play competitive, online games, shooter games versus each other, and be able to earn points, right? And that's really what's really cool about that is that you're seeing a different way of capturing that audience. But again, there's a huge responsibility when you have the audience first, because the problem is that when you have the audience first and they're incentivized financially, that's where it becomes really difficult, right? The key would be is how do you remove the financial investment from the game concept is actually more interesting, right? And that's the hardest part though, because if we did remove the financialized upside of these games, no one in Web3 will be looking at these. But I think that's the smart thing if you are building a gaming company. You want to go purely after the game and be able to scale this out here as well. So, again, just take a look and see how the market is going to evolve. But I always just want to give you guys the counter narrative as well. Not because I think the counter narrative is always right. I don't believe that. I believe it's understanding the spectrum of opportunities in a market and finding where this is going to like really land. And you building your own thesis, right? Build your own thesis and find your conviction, right? Wild West Crypto says, does this NFT dead market look like the 2018 ICO bus market where people didn't know what would happen to crypto and weren't sure of the real use case? There are some similarities, but I think the biggest problem is how extended this bear is, and probably how much longer this bear is going to go to a certain extent. And I think the other difference here is that this is a market that has matured way more since 2018, and we're not really seeing any of the life or resurgence we'd like outside of shitcoins, right? That's all we're really getting right now in this market. So this is kind of like the hardest challenge right now is that this market technically looks worse than almost all the other markets from a pure NFT perspective. Like if you're looking at NFT as a sub vertical in crypto, NFTs are the worst performing like class of assets realistically across the board. Like, what you should be putting your capital in is just putting it in the tokens, right? The tier one, right? Like ETH and BTC is a significantly better play over the last period of time than going directly into NFTs. So this is like the the hard challenge here in this market, right? Is that can you actually find an ability to sustain and actually find an inflection point that onboards. And that's a really hard thing to do in Web3. So, because the likelihood of this bear, this is like the hard thing to say out loud, but it's true. Realistically, we're probably in this bear for 6 to 12 more months at a minimum, right? Like this kind of sustained bear. And it's a different bear because we are close to the bottom of this bear, which is nice. The question though is like, how long do we have to sustain this bottom now for? And it's probably going to be at least another 6 months, if not 12, right? And this is where everyone is hoping they find the next thing. But there's the reason why everyone the next thing sell pretty quickly is the thesis as well, right? Why would you want to hold on to any NFT asset for extended periods of time in this bear market, right? Like this is like probably the biggest challenge here is that there is no way, right, to sustain until the next run. So what you have is that you have people who are stuck bag holding. So bag holders are underwater, so they have to stay. But bag holders don't have liquidity to really participate in the next era at the level you'd want. So that becomes a challenge. There's almost no new money coming into this market, right? Which makes it another challenge. And then the last problem is that even if you market make initially, right, you cannot have the ability to market make for 6 months straight, right? It's just too much money, right? Unless you end up owning the entire supply, which you could do, right? Like, to a certain extent. And there's people who are trying to do this to an element, right? But the question really that begs long term, and I'm curious to see whether or not it's worth our time, is recognizing the advantages of being in Web3 right now are are building counter plays to this market, right? Like really large counter plays to this market, right? And I think the element that you're going to get recognized here is that almost 99% of the people you'll hear in like Twitter Spaces don't have a counterplay. They don't. They're just hoping that the same play works and they get the timing right this next time, right? They all are believing the same thing, right? And like even like, dude, a lot of people. Okay, so I love Pudgy Penguins. You all know I love Pudgy Penguins. I think Pudgy is one of the best executors in this market. They deserve a shit ton of credit. But Pudgy Penguins is going to be a red herring for people. You're going to go see a lot of projects try to do toys as well, and they're going to fucking fail. They're going to fail so damn hard. Solving toys is one of the hardest verticals to get right. And like, you have to have tier one execution and more importantly, leverage to be able to get that. And oh my God, right? Like, the amount of projects I know who are now saying like, "Oh, Pudgy did toys, we can do toys." Oh, it's gonna be brutal. These guys are gonna all lose a shit ton of money, right? Trying to do toys because it's never gonna be sustainable, right? Like it won't absolutely get to that point of scale because again, they don't realize how hard to make volume sorry, how to make profits on physical merch, especially toys. Toys have some of the worst margins to start. Over time your margins get way better when you start producing like 25,000 or 50,000 or 100,000 units, right? But usually when you're buying usually sub 10,000 units, it's a very costly endeavor and it's very hard to build margins unless it's like deep collectible toys, right? Like, Cause or Bear Bricks. Those are the only ones that I see are outliers in this market. Is you have to make collectibles if you're going to do this. But all these guys think like, oh, we're going to do another plushie. They're all going to get fucked, right? Like they really are going to get fucked. And this is the hard part is that very few people want to like be open to conversations because they want to be hopeful. And what you're seeing is there's just more blind hope than ever before, right? And that blind hope is part of the copium, it's part of the bags that we may be attached to. And it's just human nature, right? That's the other thing to understand is that I don't fault people to have these ideas. But what I'm trying to give you guys the leverage on, ask yourselves if you do not have bags attached, how would your relationship with this asset or entity be? Right. And that's a very interesting question. And if you could at least think through the counter perspective on everything you're holding, you might be able to get more clarity on why you're holding, right? And that's an important thing. I'm not here to be like go sell everything. I don't believe in that at all. But I do want to know, and I'm very curious, and I actually do this with a lot of people. I find interesting wallets, and I actually try to like just DM them and interview them, like just very quickly. It's like, I was just very intrigued. There was one wallet that had like just a shit ton of like the gods and Azukis, and I was just like very curious, like why those two totally different founders, two totally different art styles, two totally different product sequences. I was just very curious, and I was like, you still hold a large position, you haven't really sold any. Why? And it was very interesting because you saw like the bias come into the conversation, but you also saw the conviction and belief. He's like, if someone's going to get Web3 right, he believed it was going to be one of those two projects. So he's like, I'm putting my position there. And then when I asked him like, well, why those two? He's like, I just believe in the founders the most. That's really it, which I thought was really interesting as well because this founder conviction thing is a very large factor to a lot of these major whale holders. And then I asked him, one of the interesting things though that was unique about this wallet was that this guy hadn't bought a DeGod and a or a Azuki in like 3 months. So he wasn't even like buying it at the cheap. He bought it like primarily at the high. So I was like, I was just curious. I was asking, so like, why wouldn't you buy more into your position? And it was actually smart. He was actually an interesting investor. He was just like, he's like, because I don't fall for sunk cost fallacy. Just because I put a shit ton in doesn't mean I have to DCA into it as well. He's just like, I've got up to my like risk threshold, and I'm just gonna keep it there. It's okay if I'm somewhat losing out, but I'm okay with my position, which I thought was really interesting. Almost every like traditional savvy investor would be like dollar cost averaging into that position, but this guy did not. He's just straight up, I believe in the conviction in Web3. I believe it's going to be one of these two, if not both, and I'm going to let it ride. Fascinating. A totally different type of investor, right? Totally different investor and wanted to understand. So you're going to see a lot of other individuals who are going to be like this, and you'll see all these other different profiles. But what I asked everyone, and I'll ask you guys, why do you have conviction a bull's going to happen anytime soon? Everything is down in numbers. Volume is down. Users are down. New wallet creation is down. Right? It's all in a very like bearish element. And here's the good thing though. I do want to say two things real quick. One is, even though if you believe the market is bearish, it doesn't mean that bullish opportunities can't exist in a bearish market. Right? That is like a very important thing here. Right? Oh, sorry, one sec. My alarm's going off. Um, and one of the biggest like elements that you kind of run into here, right, is that if all the numbers and metrics are dead, right, the question is, why do we believe a turnaround happens when the macro is just as bad? There are still huge elements of impacts and change from a legislation and legal perspective. Like, everyone believes that there's going to be this aha moment that just happened. And I think this is the thing that I'm trying to push doubt against as much as I can. And this has been like a huge thing in Tribe, right? Like, huge thought process in Tribe over the last few weeks, right? And this is like the biggest thing, is that we do believe good opportunities can exist still in this bear. But the question is how can you be a positive outcome when the rest of market is bear? That's actually like the biggest challenge, right? Great to see, like, yeah, Wicklander says I made the most money in bears and lost the most in bulls. And then it's actually like somewhat similar to a lot of collectors, especially long-term collectors, right? The bull really wasn't for long terms. So what is really nice now is that there are these types of outliers that do exist, and that's what like Tribe's trying to identify, right? Like, Tribe's biggest thing is that you've all been participating with us during a bear. Our goal is that we want to make this a positive journey for as many of you as possible, right? Um, and in that kind of struggle, it means that we have to be aware of the realities of the market while providing a way to counter it in our own manner. And that's what Tribe has evolved to, right? And this is what we started at the top of the conversation. We've seen like Tribe go through three evolutions. And this is actually what usually traditionally good product companies do, especially in new markets, right? Is that you are pivoting to find where the water is flowing fastest, right? Where there's most conviction, most feedback of like stickiness in terms of user retention and growth. And tribes had these evolutions. Tribe had like the first evolution of build in bull, and we're focusing on GameFi, essentially is what you could call it. Then we realized GameFi got killed with FTX tokens, and ERC20 died. Like, that can't be a play. We now need to evolve our content into entertainment brands. Then once we shifted to entertainment brands, we're like, yes, we can build entertainment brands, but because of these market conditions, we probably need to provide more upside beyond this to our community. Let's extend to a network, right, of both content creation and access value. And that's where the Something is Minting series was born. And you started to see us add this content layer where we quickly became one of the large audio networks or live audio networks in Web3. And then from there, we're like, oh, we need to evolve. Like, great, we see all these hundreds of projects, but realistically, only a couple of these are tier one. How do we find those tier ones and build a deeper relationship with them? So that led to the extension and evolution of Village, where it's like, okay, not only are we going to get you guys access, we're going to also help curate tier one access for projects that can have better sustainable outcomes at launch, right? And that led to a really amazing outcome in Dimensionals, which is, honestly one of the best successes in this entire bear market in 2023. It's not even close. Dimensional is by far, I mean, I know, like, remember, I know we're all excited about Sugartown in this bear at 0.27, but remember, Dimensionals in this bear was 3.4 ETH or 3.2 ETH at one point, right? Like, and it sustained a high 1.5, 2 ETH floor for a very fucking long time, right? Like, and again, that was built in the fucking bear, right? Like no other, right? Which is kind of nuts. And this is like the hardest challenge, is that you can still find these outcomes. That's why we're still incredibly bullish, on the timeline, it's on the opportunities behind, Jungle, TWL. There's also another Village partner cooking. We're still in the final evaluations of it. But if we get all of those things to like tie in, right, we can actually get to an opportunity where this market grows with us, right? Or we become cultivators of the market. And again, this is the same challenge that we're trying to do, but this is where the evolution is going. And Tribe, like, it's funny, people are like thinking like, hey, Tribe, has all this IP as well. Like, why aren't they minting? It's like, why aren't we minting the core IP? Is because the market isn't ready for it. The market isn't sustainable at this point, right? And this is kind of like a whole large opportunity that we still have to kind of figure out, is this market going to care about any of this stuff? Right? And if so, when and how do we curate that? So we had to evolve the extension of our system. This led to Relics, Village Market, and now you're going to see this huge evolution of essentially our initial tech product, which is going to be, right, this port key solution. And there's something really interesting here, right? Is that we're going to be able to actually find a way to deliver you guys some sort of value and feedback in a bear market without it leading to mass extraction. And that's like the other challenge here, is how can we do that without extraction while still keeping retention as well and value as well. And it doesn't mean that we're going to be a fit for everyone. You could never be a fit for all users, but we know the type of users we want to be a fit for, right? And that's kind of what we're now trying to evolve into. And the beauty about Tribe, and without getting into this too much, is that we're just amassing all of the content and weapons and IP and pieces to be ready. And like, we almost have too much ammunition, right? Like, we have way too much ammunition here, right? It's nuts. It's like, okay, what project do you want next? Right? Like, we have it all. We literally have it all. We can literally go in any direction at the moment right now. That's actually a beautiful thing when the markets don't fucking hate us, right? Like at all, right? Which I think is a huge, huge element. And yeah, no, it's a fair question, Hannibal. Are those weapons? I don't think so, because that's the beauty of Tribe. And that's the beauty of this shitty short term FOMO market. You could drive attention and awareness to any project within a good 3 to 4 weeks if you have reach, distribution, and goals. It's so easy to launch stuff in this market, especially with our community leverage and partnership leverages as well. Like we could turn anything into the number one. Like anytime you guys want us to create a number one show, we probably can. Like it's actually insane. That's what a lot of people don't realize, right? Is that it's so insane how we could turn anything into a number one show in our sleep, right? And because of that, it means that we have infinite distribution advantages, right? I don't want to say infinite. Infinite would be amazing, but we do have a very meaningful distribution advantage. And that's the best part, is that we haven't shared majority of the IP. Do you know how few people even know what the Kings look like in King's Oath? Do you know how nobody knows about Reapers? Do you know, like, nobody knows about Ronin? Like, the only people here, right, is going to be these individuals who've been a part of these worlds and a part of these designs. And this is kind of where this whole evolution comes, right? And because we still have a huge opportunity in the type of design. Oh, Prince of Persia, I know you're always confused. Let me answer your questions here as well. Very standard. Really what you have to understand is the port key is the evolution and replaces Genesis Soul and Season 2 Soul. The port key is a free claim only if you have souls, right? And there's a weight on that. You'll see more information coming about this, right? So again, it's part of it. So it's not that you lose your souls, the souls evolve into the port key. Very simple to understand if you recognize. No, it won't be time sensitive. You'll always have a 1 to 2 week window to mint your port key. We don't do anything as a rush. Nothing is going to be rushed here. You're going to be fine. You'll be able to have an opportunity to unlock all of these assets. The whole point of the port key is to give you guys, well, okay, like it's hard for you guys to understand, but let me break it. Let me break this down real quick. It'd be maybe hard for you to understand if you only have a collector mindset, but what is the biggest challenge right now is on-chain reputation. What is the number one reason why people value Tribe is because Tribe actually gives the best curated holders to almost any community, right? Like any project, if it's a tier one project, we do bring the best, like active holders from diamonds to our core community more than anyone else, right? So with that, what's really powerful on the port key side of the equation is that we're going to take all of the knowledge we have on you guys, decentralized, anonymous, no KYC, and start letting other companies in the future, if they want, take advantage to give you guys rewards. And there'll actually be a partnership structure for that. The port key is going to be what we hope, the way we're designing the port key, it's going to be something that every user in Web3 will want over time. Some will understand its value right at the start, some will understand its value later along the way. And the port key is going to be an assembling of your identity and relationship with Tribe. So, because of this, right, like a lot of people don't understand, right, is that a lot of this market is still stuck doing the same thing. So, what are we trying to do, right, is that we're going to keep scaling our product experience that gives you guys more, right? Way, 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 right? And that's going to be the nice little thing here, right? And this is kind of like the challenge overall is how do we build for a market that is bare, a market that has no liquidity, and a market that has like little staying power, retention power. These are the variables we have, right? And that becomes like the nice little thing about this design is that it all kind of opens up to kind of be a really powerful system in how we build and how we scale. And that's kind of the other important thing is that remember these are all free claims. If you already own a soul, your port key is free. You don't have to worry about anything. You're just paying your standard gas on this front, right? All this stuff is free. There's no cost for this if you already have your soul, right? And that's going to be the important thing. The other big thing that you want to understand as well is that again, as Portkey scales, the vast majority of claims are going to be free for the Portkey within that infrastructure too. This is not a cash extension from you guys. That's not what we're looking at all for this, right? We can reduce the gas. I mean, this is actually an interesting question, Killam. I can make this near gas free or even front the gas cost for you guys, but that means we have to put you on Polygon. I don't think we should go on Polygon. I don't think we should go to an L2. I want this shit on L1. And I actually, the real reason why for L1, right, is that L1 is where the valued users. God, there's a lot of Polygon hate here as well. No, I know, Killam. Don't get me wrong. I know you're trolling as well. It is funny though, but it was a real question we were considering, right? Like we really were, right? It was this idea of like, um, we can go to an Alt L2, and we will do that in the future for other port key claims, right? For like, we'll probably do custodial port keys later, and that will probably be leveraging an L2. But I think like the Genesis port keys that you guys are getting are going to be are going to be significantly more valuable being on L1. Because the great thing is the cost of that L1 for other people to look up is nothing, right? They can access all the data very directly. And we're actually going to build, like, I mean, it's going to be pretty interesting. I'm going to give our data technically away for free, which is crazy. Almost no entity would do this. But the reason I'm doing this is that, and again, this is all decentralized data. There's no KYC. I don't need to know anything else about you. The only data we're sharing is your engagement in Discord, your engagement on Twitter, and your understanding of your public wallet, right? That you're minting to. That's all accessible. That's it. Right? These are all the three things that are already incredibly public about you, right? On this front. So what's really nice about this is that this system still works with a decentralized emphasis. But the reason why we actually want to build this is that I want to do this before someone starts selling your data on your start selling your personal data without like alignment with you, right? They're just trying to profit off. That's not what Tribe's trying to do. Tribe's not trying to profit off this directly, right? What we're actually trying to do is we're trying to show how valuable you guys are as users so other projects can value you too, right? That's actually the most important thing. So those of you who actually got your souls on your main wallets, and your port keys will then be claimed on your main wallets, you'll have more of an advantage. You'll actually look like a real user through and through, right? Which is also a very interesting thing in this kind of design is that, especially if it's on a wallet that is from 2017 or 2016, right? It's going to also give you guys more history if you've had that wallet for that long because people know you're actually from that space. And this is why it's important. We've always wanted to build a tribe, a coalition of real users, right? A coalition of real users who believe in where the opportunity of future Web3 is going to go. And if we do that, we could do this all with decentralized principles. We could give you guys more access, which has always been Tribe's number one goal. We are the best at giving you guys access to projects, and access is not just like whitelist. We do give out the most whitelists in the market, but it's more than that. It's also knowledge. It's also like conversation. It's also counter narratives and points. We want to build all of this elements here that are coming in. So you're going to see a few things. And yeah, there is a loyalty score in the port key itself. Well, there's two loyalty scores. There's a loyalty score of what you could claim based off your history with this community. You're going to be able to get, there's different port keys to claim. We'll share more details about this next week.
But there are different port keys that are claimable based off your history. You cannot pay for a different port key. I mean, technically, you could pay for one port key if you really want it. There is a diamond port key, right? So you can technically go buy a diamond. So diamonds will have their own key, and these different port keys will have different yields and airdrops that will come to them, or not airdrops. Let me remove that word. Claims, free claims in the future that will be unique to each of these port keys. And then over time, right, you create a rarity on the port key based off your engagement, your ownership, and your access to content. And that's kind of the other really cool thing about this is that if this is right, if our thesis is right, we should become the most valued on-chain L1 network in Web3. That's what we're actually aiming to be. And the reason why this matters is that if we believe the next winners in this market are still going to be L1 based projects, right? Like over the next 12 months, it is all going to be L1 based projects in our opinion. Don't get me wrong, there will be L2 growth, there'll be L2 users kind of scaling up. But the real growth opportunity, volume opportunity, user opportunity still is going to be very close to being on the L1 side. And what we want to do is that we want to give you guys asset that not only allows you to get more access through Tribe, but it's an asset that if we do this correctly, will be an asset that will be valued by every new project that launches. That is the beauty of what we're doing. That is the beauty of what we're scaling. And this is why we're so focused on real users, managing them in our ecosystem and our network, and also why like I'm really excited because it's an ability for us to put a counterplay in this market. It's a real technology moat slash advantage if we build it and we curate it. Because then if we curate it, imagine we have a network of 1,000 of you or 2,000 of you, whatever it may be, whatever the number it's going to end up being. It doesn't matter to us what that number is. All that matters is those who actually claim the port keys and want to be active, we're going to continue to optimize for you. So imagine we have, let's say, 2,000 people grab these port keys, right? And what we could then do is we could go to any project and be like, look, we have 2,000 verified true users and true wallets. Here's how we measure them. Here's where the opportunity is. Here's how we're going to scale. Would you want to partner with them? Would you want to give them allocation? If so, let us know and we'll help curate the right users for you to allocate to. And then imagine in your port key, you get an invitation for a whitelist, right? Like you get to come back and someone's like, "Hey, we're launching a new project because you've been part of Tribe and you've been really active in gaming before, right? Based off your wallet, we'd love to give you access points, right?" And that's actually a really cool idea. And honestly, why wouldn't you do that if you're launching a new project? Like that's all I want if I'm launching a new project, is I want someone to actually tell me who is building it, right? Who is scaling it, right? And that becomes a huge opportunity, right? And that's kind of the big thing. Yeah, Wild West crypto. I mean, you asked what's the difference between burners and non-burners. That's the thing is like if you don't have your port key in your main wallet, you now have to build reputation on your alt wallet. That's it. It's right now only going to be focusing on your core wallet. We will allow for designations potentially in the future, but you need to build your first wallet. And that's where if you've chosen an alt wallet for your key, that's where you're building your reputation against now. So the question then begs is, do you want to move your reputation against that key because you see that value? Or do you want to maybe wait until we allow for multiple wallets to come in? We definitely will allow for multi wallets later, right? But what we care about is getting the reputation system up and running first, right? And that's going to be a really important thing. Exactly, right? ICO Beast notes like age of wallet will be highlighted. But not only age of wallet, but also like your age of communicating with us in our server will be highlighted, right? Like there's going to be all these different elements that are going to be like huge in value. right? And the nice part about this is that it's all going to be unlocked in a positive way. And it's not like people are going to, like Zayn, I know you say, oh, people are going to see activity. To an extent, they'll see their degen activity as long as, anyone who knows your wallet, anyone can see it, right? All of this stuff is public to an extent, right? We're not going to like put this out publicly by saying like, this is Zayn's wallet and his Twitter and his Discord. We're not pushing it out like that yet. That's not the goal. The goal is actually to keep it all internal for now because I want to respect your privacy as much as I can, right? And that's kind of the other important thing, right? Is that our huge opportunity still in the end is going to be coming down to two major facts, right? One is the biggest opportunity for Tribe is trying to bring real users to the next wave. That's a big goal. And the second major opportunity for Tribe is really ensuring that we compound your access and value. Like, Portkey is not designed for Tribe to get massive extraction. There'll be a few opportunities of small upsells here and there, right? But again, realistically, right, all of your claims are free as long as you already have a soul, right? You might find a nice little +1, or maybe you want a physical, or maybe you want to collect all the comics, right? There'll be these like small little ways to kind of unlock, right? To unlock those kind of +1s. But again, the port key is not going to at all be required for you guys to spend any more additional cash if you do not want to. That's not our design here. Our design is bringing you all together under an ecosystem that actually values your reputation and participation to this ecosystem. There's a reason why we've been building in Bear for 12 months with you. We're not throwing away or throwing out all of that history. Your history is what defines you, right? Remember, you guys have pendants. Those pendants are going on your port key. You're actually going to see it added onto that as well, right? You're going to have that opportunity to really be able to see all of this growth, right? To be able to come back into this world and realistically what I'm hoping for if we get it all right is you're going to see a big opportunity for a growth network to be built. That's actually what we're trying to get to. Because if I could show on-chain verification of the amount of users that are part of our network and be able to show their true representative participation and contribution to our world and to other worlds, you would actually have the best platform that is already pre-segmented for other users to leverage, right? And then imagine in the future we would create, hey, you want to distribute 100 whitelists, give us some parameters of what you're seeking, right? And boom, right? You're going to get a lot of other like partners who are either going to value our distribution and give us better access, or more importantly, it could lead to a revenue channel for Tribe. And it's not charging you guys for it, it's charging the partners for it, right? That is actually the beauty of Tribe, right? Like when we say Tribe is like generating revenue, like the revenue is not coming from you guys as consumers. Very rarely is it coming from you guys. You guys are a very small piece of that. Majority, right, is going to be coming out from everyone else, right, which is our B2B partners rather than this kind of B2C relationship as well. So you're going to see all these different elements that can be claimable as well. And yeah, the port key will, I don't, you're saying port key needs additional transactions to verify participation on chain. I mean, it's not I mean, yes, you have to claim your assets. That's really all it is. The port key is just multiple claims over time that verify your on-chain participation, your participation on chain. That's essentially what it needs to be. So wherever you're claiming your port key based off where your soul is, that's where you'll be able to claim and get access to that very directly. And that's the other reason why we made these all down from the start, right? We're bound because your reputation is bound to you. Your reputation is connected to you. And that's the other thing, right? Is a lot of people want, there's a few people who've done, a bunch of multi soulbound tokens and stuff. That's not going to be valuable, right? Like it really isn't. Like, I mean, all the people who want, they're going to be in for a rough time. Not only are there a lot of them getting kicked out, and we're still, of course, always improving our community value. But the other thing is, right, is that when you do claim the port key, you're also connecting your Discord and Twitter alongside your wallet together, right? So there's a healthy triangulation between that. And this means that we can actually then truly verify your value. Because the other problem that you have in Web3 is a lot of you guys with Twitter accounts, right, are struggling with two factors. Like, what is most of you have an alt account that doesn't communicate at all, right? All you do is you retweet the same stupid giveaways over and over and over again. Because again, I don't blame you. That's how you could actually win a bunch of shit ton of money, right? It's just you just keep going all the opportunities here as well on those front. So you'll kind of see that that difference is that you do have to connect your accounts and you'll get more value. So if you actually have a real Twitter account and you actually really communicate with people and you actually get real reach and real conversations, you're going to be more valued, right? Like you're gonna get way more value on that front as well, right? And that's going to be the other cool thing is that it comes down to your holistic value as a user. Same thing if you're in Discord, your value and your communication here matters, right? Maybe people are looking for users who are going to be hyperactive in Discord. Great, we could curate for that. Maybe people are looking for people who are hyperactive on Twitter. Great, we can curate for that. Maybe people are just looking for massive whales because they think whales are the only thing that matters. Great, we can do that. We can provide all that type of distribution and leveraging for targeting, and we can then get a good understanding of who each of you guys are as well. Numa asks, if someone buys a diamond after claiming the key, yeah, if you buy a diamond after claiming the port key, we'll actually airdrop you a port key to your wallet. So whoever buys that diamond, as long as you're holding it for X amount of days, you'll then be able to claim a diamond port. It won't be like your port key magically upgrades. That's not how we want to do that. We're not adding that on-chain element there. You'll just get another port key for that if you choose to buy. So the cool thing is that we'll always have this ability to distribute and give access. But again, we always want to make sure that the access is going to people who are truly active and want to be a part of our world as well too. So that's our biggest challenge and our biggest growth here when we look at the business is that we now need to grow with data, we now need to grow with users, and we now need to grow technology leverage. That's actually how we're going to sustain through this bear over the next 90 to 120 days. And the best part is that we're still going to get you access. We're still going to get you allocation, right? I think we have Wallet Wars, Shadow Wars. I think it's called Shadow Wars as well, or Shadow Game. Um, Michelin. We have TWL, Jungle later. Like again, these are just like what we have in our pipeline already, and we're going to keep adding to that. And I think once you see the port key go out, the port key then is going to have multiple claims, and we're going to have some fun with it over the next few months because the port key is actually going to just be a way to collect as well for technically free. And again, you could choose whether or not you want to collect anything. If it's for you, no problem. It's up to you. But remember, after you get your port key, you'll then start getting your first spirit, a Genesis spirit, which will be the PFP, will be the first claim after you get the port key. And then after that will most likely be the comic claim next. And then right after that will most likely be an art claim next, right? And that's kind of the nice little part here is that we're able to actually do all of these, and all three of those claims are technically will all have free options. They'll all be fully free if you want, right? And that's kind of the nice part about how we scale this out is that we can still give you a pretty interesting product experience that is actually going to compound your value. So if you're a real user who has been putting meaningful time, like GP does equal fucking GA here. It always has. That has always been the design, right? What we're trying to do here is that if you've been greater your participation, the greater the access and value you're going to get. So there's actually hundreds of you who are real fucking users here, right? Like real users. And I think that's like our most bullish element now is that we want to make sure that we give rise to you, right? Especially diamond holders, even non-diamond holders. We want to give all of you guys the real praise of what you've been contributing to multiple worlds, not just our world, but other worlds as well. And because of that, right, we're going to be able to kind of have, I think, a really beautiful system that really allows us to kind of scale significantly, right? And that's kind of the nice little part here is that it is a counter narrative to this market. It is a something that I think most people don't realize is that the challenge essentially is going to come down to if Web3 is going to survive, we need to cut out all the bots. Right, we really do. Because everyone that's a bot or an alt account is an extractor, right? For every bot or alt you add into your initial distribution, you introduce an extractive element that you must now replace that user with another real user byproduct. So what does Tribe now need to do? We need to figure out ideally, right? Like I know people like ask me like what's your perfect mint scenario? And people don't understand this when I give them my answer. They get really confused. They're like, what's your ideal mint scenario? Like my ideal mint scenario is that I give you guys whatever the thousand assets, right, for Oath, whatever it may be, and there's 1,000 unique holders, and zero of you are listing or selling, and there's zero volume. That's what I want, right? And the reason why, right, like a huge opportunity here is on this front is that I don't care about volume. I actually want to design a priceless mint, right? That's actually what I want, right? That's what you want to actually scale to if you're designing an ideal structure, right? And you need to know your ideal structure to get closer to that outcome, right? And very few people get this, right? Very few people understand this as well, which I think is important. Yeah, alts can protect against drains for sure. Tangible. That's actually the important thing about Tribe. That's why we do a delegate wallet feature. So we remove all of that. You could do that with other parties. That's totally fine. So you could keep doing that with other projects. Definitely use your alts. We recommend that. But again, your on-chain reputation is wherever you minted your app. That's where it's going, and that's where your reputation will be built. So again, it doesn't matter if you use it on alt or your main, that's the start of your reputation, at least with Tribe. And if you value that, right, then what's really cool is that we're going to unlock more products and more experiences that coalesce with your reputation too, right? And that's what a lot of people don't recognize. When you create so many alts, you actually are going to lose value long term, right? But you're probably going to gain value short term, right? And that's kind of the other thing, right? And this is kind of like a very interesting thing. And yeah, right, like we could see already, right, on Genesis Soul, right, that we've hit those numbers technically because it's bound, but that's kind of the behavior that we're actually trying to represent, right? And very few people actually understand the type of behaviors we're going after because our behaviors are trying to be a counter to this market, right? Because this market is greedy, this market is needy, this market is childish, right? And it's a very hard thing when you're dealing with a needy, childish market, right? And a greedy market, is that there's always a question of when, right? It's really a struggle there. Because again, like as much as we love our community, right? The other thing I also have to be very realistic on is there's a difference in knowing what needs to be prioritized for builder value versus collector value, right? And we're the only ones internally at builder value. right? Because I need the builder value to sustain. I need the builder value to grow, right? And for us as an entity to survive, right, we need to be able to get to that next level. And this becomes like the really large challenge, right? Right? Is that our whole opportunity has to be a deviation from the right. And that's what Tribe's working really hard on. We're trying to deviate from the norm. And if we could do that correctly, you're going to see a lot of powerful things happen in regard to our entity and our goals here as well. So, I appreciate you guys kind of going along with this conversation here, right? And you're going to be able to, see how our overall vision comes out. But remember, our vision all goes back to our favorite statement. Our entire vision has been greater participation equals greater access, right? So, again, if you are someone who understands that concept, it's very simple. The greater you have participated in our world, the greater your access and ongoing yield can potentially be. And that's all we've asked for, right? And participation can be measured in many participation is your time here with relics, right? Your participation is owning assets in other in other partnership projects. It can be owning assets in Tribe's ecosystem, i.e., the diamonds and the souls. These are all elements of participation, and we're going to continue to compound this. We also want to introduce other ways of participation, i.e., retweeting or communicating or talking about our brand on Twitter is going to be one of the other factors and variables we'll start introducing in Q4, right? We also have PFP staking, right? Which is another element as well. We want to bring all these layers together, right? So that they all coalesce to an engine that continues to build velocity. And it's tough. Like, I want to be very honest, it's a very, very tough thing to do. It's a very, very market to sustain. Everyone is giving back floor price. Everyone is struggling to maintain a holder alignment fit. And and with Tribe, we're constantly asking ourselves, can we get there? And this is the other like big thing about Tribe, and I'll kind of close with this alpha here as well, right? Is that our biggest opportunity is going to be coming down to not only building this Web3 component layer right here at the moment right now, is that, the other big thing that you're also going to see is we're going to be introducing um our one of our first Web2 product lines as well here. So one of the other things that we're really working huge it's a huge endeavor, and we're hoping to get it really, really right. Like we know we have the right team, the right content, and the right layers. It's now going to be coming down to can we set up the value proposition correctly? If we can, I think it can be very bullish. So that is going to be our comics play. Tabula Rasa is going to actually come out and become like essentially a new standalone comic book publisher, and we're putting multiple franchises under Tabula Rasa, and it's actually going to be sold to a Web2 audience first. You'll also have your claims as Web3 holders. But what we want people to understand is that there's an opportunity to restructure the business model around Web2 comics, leveraging blockchain in the long run. We don't have to leverage it at the start. We could just become a native publisher. And that means that we actually have revenue opportunity, right? That's the other important thing. The revenue opportunity, again, is not going to be extracting you guys, and it's not extracting anyone. It's realistically is we're going to sell products that people are willing to pay for because they value them. And if we could do that, Web2 still has revenue, Web2 still has capital, way has more liquidity than Web3 for sure. So that's also going to be our other counterplay that we're starting to get ready and go. So next week you'll actually see this on Monday. I'm going to give you guys the insights on that, which is pretty exciting. You're going to get the first insights on how we're going to be launching Tabula Rasa more to the public. But the other big thing you'll also be able to see on Wednesday is we're going to go back to live comic events, and we're going to do multiple live comic events. So they're coming back. We're building them up to be better. And the little twist is they're not going to be in Discord. We're going to a new platform. We're going to start expanding to a new audience reach here as well. And it's a platform that anyone could go onto. You'll have easy link. You don't even have to create an account, but it'll be very easy. And we're going to allow you guys to be able to mix with Web 2 users as well in the future, because our goal is now, especially in Q4, is to show you that Tribe has not only built a growth engine for 3, we're going to build a growth engine for Web 2 as well. And we have some crazy cool stuff coming. So like there's 3 IPs that we will be announcing, and there'll be a 4th secret IP. The first 2 IPs that are coming in the comic book are actually going to be Lost Realms and Keensight. So, Keensight has its own world, right? We folded them in. So that franchise is going to continue to go. Lost Realms, as you know, you guys will be getting the debut comic, but we'll be setting that up as a full content franchise. And we're going to be selling that to Web 2 users, people here as well. And then lastly, right, we have a total new IP being created with a new lead artist as well, right? Someone who's incredibly, incredibly talented in the market. And he's been doing some crazy good work. So I'm really excited for, right, is that we're allowing all of these pieces to come together and allow that to be our opportunity in Q4. And we'll see if these work. We're actually really bullish that we could become a new wave comic book publisher because of the way we're structuring our incentives for artists. That's actually what we care most about. We actually believe blockchain technology's biggest advantage is giving new economic upside to creators, right? Like that's actually a huge, huge opportunity of what Web3 has already done to unlock value for generative artists, for photographers. There's also the idea of recurring revenue, right, through royalties once they were enforced. I know that's a totally different narrative right now. There's a huge challenge, right? And what we're now are trying to get right, and what we're really trying to fix is that we really want to make sure that when we introduce any of these concepts, we could be growing both user bases. This is actually going to be the goal for 2023. In 2024, the goal in 2024 is showcasing that Tribe could scale Web 2 native users and Web 3 native users. We want to win both. If we could win both, oh, we're going to be killing it. This is actually how Tribe gets to the next level, right? And I think that's going to be pretty exciting. No, weird ass alarm sound. No, it was just another random from Apple's sound. So I'll make sure to. I don't know which one was that. Hold on, I'll let you know. Let's go to my alarms real quick. What was the name of this song? This was the 9 a.m. This is called Slow Rise uh, on Apple for that one. Well, as we do a quick recap here, right? I just want to share like what we talked about, and then we'll kind of wrap up. So, the biggest thing to understand is that when we started this conversation, it's recognizing we're in a much deeper bear market than most people understand, and too many people are blindly hopeful it turns around, but there's no real logic around. There's a very good expectation that we maintain this type of bear for 6 to 12 more months, right? And that's at a minimum. There's some people that I know that I deeply respect that believe that, especially for the NFT market, we are probably in a bear for almost 18 to 24 months. That's the expectation. So, again, not saying that you have to believe any of those, but you want to just understand the spectrum of where that opportunity can be. With that, right, the biggest challenge is going to come down to is then what's going to lead to the mass onboarding. And this is where Tribe is trying to solve it with reputation. We believe the port key is going to be a really important factor for us to actually unlock your guys' value and access, while Tribe also builds like essentially a distribution network that we think could be deeply valuable for future Web3 projects. But alongside that, what Tribe's also interested in is how do we drive Web 2 revenue by leveraging some of the Web 3 decentralized principles and infrastructure we value as well. And that's where Tabula Rasa is going to be. With Tabula Rasa, we should be able to get a big upside in the conversation of onboarding Web 2 users as well. Tribe's goal moving in 2024 is to continue to build the largest portfolio of assets, right? We have our own first party assets that we believe that we could sustain and launch whenever we want. Same thing, we have our third party partners through Something is Minting, and of course, Village partners directly that are launching through us. And then our goal, of course, is to keep building this Web 2 audience that becomes curious over time. And if we can do that, I think Tribe then is positioned to be able to get positive outcomes, even in a bear, but more importantly, can really reach outlier outcomes if a bull were to happen anytime soon. If we can do it, we're going to be in a really good spot. And again, we're not just betting on ETH, right? We're actually technically ready for certain L2s. We're ready for BTC if we want. We're ready to go to, if we need to go to Solana, we're happy to do so if we see that opportunity makes sense. We have all of these opportunities, right? All within our back pocket. And we believe that by having that, we have one of the best arsenals for launch when we deem it ready, when we deem the market ready, when we deem the opportunity worthy of our time. Our goal is to continue to protect and grow that volume over time, which is really exciting. So, hopefully with that, that gives you a little bit more insight as Tribe continues to build. We'll have a few more events this week as well. There's nothing right now on the calendar. I'll kind of update that. We'll add a few more things. We're a little bit behind this week as we're in build mode, right? Our goal is, the Souls claim for a port key is going to be happening this month. Is what right now our target, like near the end of this month to start. And then our goal is to get all the other future claims ready behind that. So we're trying to clear all of that back. A lot of that work, like it's a shit ton of work that we're actually trying to clear so that we're ready for all of those claims. And then alongside that, right, each have your own opportunity to kind of participate deeper in this ecosystem with your port keys, as you'll then be able to claim your spirits, right? Which we shared a few teasers out before here. I'll share a new spirit real quick since we're here. Let me see what kind of cool spirit I can share at the moment right now. I think I've already shared that one. I think I've shared these ones. This isn't a full complete one, but I thought this crazy head was really cool. We call it a robo. I don't like this hat, so ignore the hat. We're gonna remove that. Well, these are just the ones I have here. We drop this one. This one's really cool. I just like weird helmets opening up and closing. They're really cool, kind of in different designs and structures. Just slightly different. We're making them all a little bit more hardcore in our theme. We took a lot of feedback from our diamond users and some community members. And one of the biggest things we realized is like, whoa, let's just build really crazy shit. Let's just see what could look the coolest things in this market and see where everything else is going. So once we get all of this stuff through, right, we should be able to have some really cool stuff to share. Let me show you one more. Where can I find? Oh, that's the paper crown. Where is these? I think I've shown this angel before. I've showed a few of these. I'm trying to figure out. This is like a Asian dragon mask. One sec. This one's cool. There we go. This one's also really cool, like a very different vibe to it, different style. Like we're gonna put some pretty insane ranges in this, which I think is gonna be really cool. So you're gonna see a lot. We have a lot of cool things coming. We have a lot of cool custom characters. We're gonna be pushing a pretty amazing cast all together. That's could be pretty powerful. So I'm pretty stoked for this. We're even working on some other cool IP to extend. Let me show you. Let me see. I think I have one more that's probably worth showing. Okay, I'll show you this one just because it's like super weird. Because again, I love these super weird ones. I'm probably showing too much, but shout out our team. I've been actually way behind. I actually have a bunch of stuff on art that I need to review as well. It's been a crazy 10 days. Here we go. Let me send this one. This one's cool because it's actually its hat is like a mini drone, which I thought was pretty cool. Again, just a slightly weirder taste and look and feel and vibe. This might work for you. This might not. It's kind of like a really fun thing. Our whole opportunity now is trying to give you guys just so many cool opportunities that could be meaningful for the market and our design. So definitely keep an eye out on how we keep kind of building all of these things. We're gonna have some fun kind of ways of unlocking different characters for each of these elements here as well. Yeah, all the spirits are done by the same team, same structure. We have a core team internally at the moment right now. All of our pixel art's been done by the same in-house team from day one. So we want to keep pushing that. We actually have too much art. Like we're actually like here's the honest truth. We've actually run out of stuff to do for pixel art to a certain extent. Which is crazy. It's a good problem to have because we have so many projects, but at the same time, right, we want to keep finding other interesting ways to kind of scale. So lots of cool things. You'll see a lot of other ways that you could use this. And our goal is, the cool thing is these become Genesis spirits that become part of your port key. They almost act like passport stamps as well. They'll have other unique claims that come along the way. There's a lot of other things that are going to be unlocked relatively quickly. So you're going to see some cool things, right? I think our whole opportunity now in this space is trying to really design a big challenge in this market is designing for something that meets your expectations or exceeds your expectations. So we want to continue to do that. So you'll see some other cool little twists and turns as we kind of go through this process as well. So, guys, I do appreciate you being here. Let's do our favorite thing and head to the secret chamber at the moment right now. And this will be a little short, so you got to be ready for this. We're going to do our favorite GP equals GA, is what I think I named this one. All right, the password is 5035. The password is 5035. Make sure you use the /secret function there. If you do that, you should be good. 5035. Boom. And you should hopefully get a response letting you know that Tribe is thinking, and they will then give you the response back. Hopefully, if you got it in time, and now over. So hopefully all of you were able to claim that here. Appreciate you all as well. Thanks for joining both of these sessions. We know they were back to back. Hopefully we'll have a few more events coming out tomorrow. But again, we're in build mode quite a bit. So we have a lot of places that we need to kind of execute on. So just stay tuned as we kind of keep scaling up. Hopefully from here, if you guys see any other cool opportunities, hit us up. We're continually talking to a lot of other partners and hoping to get more AMAs, more distributions out for each and every one of you. With that, I'm going to let you all go. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll chat soon. Bye-bye now.